Delhi at night carries a specific sensory signature. When the monsoon rains hit, streetlights blur into the wet pavement, obscuring almost everything in the shadows. On one particular night along Lodi Road, a dark SUV suddenly accelerated through an empty intersection, its tires splashing heavy water. It struck a crossing pedestrian with a hollow thud, throwing them to the ground, and immediately vanished into the rain without ever tapping the brakes. Within seconds, the relentless downpour went to work on the physical evidence. Heavy water dissolved the blood spatter, washed away muddy shoe prints, and scrubbed the asphalt entirely clean. The combination of severe weather and a total absence of eyewitnesses created a tightly sealed narrative. To local authorities, every environmental factor pointed toward a routine, tragic urban traffic fatality. By the following morning, the environment shifts completely to the sterile, bureaucratic corridors of RAW headquarters. The Delhi police had already processed the sparse incident report. Without a license plate, witnesses, or physical traces left on the road, they were actively preparing to close the file as an unsolved hit-and-run. RAW investigator Arjun Sen reviewed the file and noted a specific detail. The SUV accelerated into a blind, rain-slick turn without ever touching its brakes. This suggested a driver who wasn't reacting to a sudden obstacle, but one who was tracking a target through the storm. Proving premeditation requires a trail of intent. Sen's immediate hurdle was finding a way to establish that intent when the physical environment itself had meticulously sanitized the crime scene. Sen operated on a concept he called the pseudo-signal. He theorized that the elements responsible for destroying the obvious clues, specifically the mud and the rain, actually created a hidden, secondary layer of evidence. As the fleeing SUV accelerated away from the impact, its sheer physical weight displaced the wet soil on the shoulder of Lodi Road. For a brief window, it left behind a highly compressed tread mark deep in the mud before the surrounding water could dissolve it. Comparing a tire tread to a fingerprint, a tire's friction pattern is mechanically identical to unique ridges on a thumb. By analyzing the imprint's depth and asymmetry, Sen extracted exact vehicle class, weight distribution, and make and model. That single brief physical imprint stripped away the anonymity of the ghost car. Sen now had a highly specific, mathematically trackable target. Finding a specific vehicle in Delhi's chaotic infrastructure is incredibly difficult, heavily compounded by a municipal camera network riddled with broken lenses and dead zones. Sen approached the problem by reverse engineering the escape. He took the vehicle's predicted trajectory based on the tire alignment and cross-referenced it against a grid of the city's known, fully operational CCTV cameras. Looking at this top-down map of the city's surveillance, the red cones represent the actual fields of view from active cameras. The driver managed to thread a precise, unbroken route exclusively through the unmonitored dark gaps. A driver does not accidentally navigate a massive city by hitting every surveillance blind spot. This level of precision proved the driver possessed premeditated geographical intelligence. Sen used that map of blind spots to trace the route outward, finally locating the abandoned SUV hidden on the dusty outskirts of the city. The interior of the cabin held specific forensic markers. Investigators recovered a deliberately smashed burner phone from the floorboards and found that the vehicle's onboard GPS hardware had been physically tampered with to mask its history. However, Sen managed to extract a fragmentary timeline from the altered GPS chip. It showed that prior to the strike, the vehicle had been sitting idle in a blind alley near Lodi Road for over 2 hours. The idling timeline and the destroyed communications hardware confirmed the mechanics of the event. The victim was under active surveillance, and the collision was a perfectly timed ambush. The victim was a clandestine intelligence asset. Using a heavy vehicle to ensure a lethal impact while leaving no ballistics or forensic residue is a specific protocol used to maintain deniability during the removal of high-value field operatives. The motive was containment. The victim held raw intelligence regarding a cross-border operation that would have been compromised the moment he made contact with his handler. This network chart maps the final ping recovered from that destroyed burner phone. Sen traced the data through several layers of intermediary cutouts, ultimately landing directly on the desk of a high-ranking intelligence mastermind. The incident on Lodi Road was a state-level assassination. It was intentionally disguised as chaotic urban violence to plug a critical intelligence leak. Looking back at Lodi Road in the bright light of day, the asphalt betrays no sign of the violence that occurred. The initial police report categorized this as a byproduct of poor visibility and a slick road. In reality, the driver used the storm as a tactical asset to mask a high-speed assassination. The physical environment always records a memory of an event. Even when operatives attempt to scrub a scene clean, the sheer physics of their actions will leave an imprint behind. Through rigorous deductive logic and careful forensic science, a well-funded, meticulously planned conspiracy was entirely unraveled by a single overlooked trace of mud.